just because I don't want to get stuck in the snow or be in a situation where maybe I do have to try to get out or something like that and don't have gas.
A state of emergency in effect tonight as people all across the West are facing dangerously cold temperatures. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. Tonight, the Portland area is facing bitter cold, prompting an emergency in some parts of Oregon. After a week that saw strong winter storms, tonight people are stocking up on supplies to get through this weekend. And power companies are staging crews for potential outages during the cold weather. We begin tonight's weather team coverage with Fox 12's Connor McCarthy, who spoke with people getting ready for this weekend's blast of cold air.
Critical supplies for a critical winter weekend in the Portland metro area.
It is a joy to be able to kind of hang around, watch, pitch in where we're needed.
Cots, blankets, food, and dry clothes all delivered to Friendly House in Northwest Portland. It's one of 6 locations across Multnomah County that the Joint Office of Homeless Services has opened for the severe winter weather this weekend to help those experiencing homelessness survive the cold.
And feel honored to be able to partner with Multnomah County to be able to open our doors for them to run a shelter.
Maya Chamberlain is the executive director for Friendly House. She says helping people in these emergency situations is at the core of their mission.
I felt very lucky to make friends with a lot of the houseless folks in our area, and so when the weather does turn, I worry. I don't know where they are. I don't know if they've found shelter. So for me personally, being able to see some of our longtime folks walk in, feel safe and comfortable and warm here, that's as good as it gets.
Friday, Multnomah County Chair Jessica Vega Peterson announced the county will be handing out hundreds of hand warmers, blankets, sets of clothes, tarps, tents, sleeping bags, and water bottles to those who need it. The 6 shelters opened in strategic locations to try and reach every corner of the county.
And I very much encourage people to come in from the storm, come in from the bitter cold, get dry, and stay warm.
Back at the Friendly House, Chamberlain says they will have room for between 60 and 70 people. Even if they reach capacity, she says no one will be turned away. With the snowstorm falling on a holiday weekend, Chamberlain says what better way to honor the life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. than to help the most vulnerable in our community during a time of need.
I think to one of his quotes that anything that affects one of us affects all of us. The idea of people freezing outdoors in the wealthiest country in the world, that affects all of us at some level, whether we want it to or not.
And that was Fox 12's Connor McCarthy reporting tonight. The West's most extreme temperatures are in Idaho and Montana. Video on social media shows heavy snow and strong wind gusts hitting both of those states. A blizzard warning is in effect for parts of Idaho through tomorrow morning. And when you factor in the wind chill, temperatures were as low as 40 degrees below zero today. In Montana, storms creating poor visibility for drivers and also delaying some flights as well. Recovery crews in Idaho returned to the site of an avalanche today to search for one victim. Shoshone County Sheriff's deputies believe a man died yesterday in that slide near Stevens Peak. The backcountry site is about 80 miles east of Spokane, Washington. 2 men survived that crush of snow, and based on what they told deputies, search teams believe a 3rd man who was with them also died. Avalanche warnings have been in effect for several days in that remote area. And a ski lift reopened today at the site of this week's deadly avalanche in California. One person died on Wednesday when snow rushed down the mountain at the Palisades Tahoe ski resort in the Sierra. Crews deemed conditions were safe before that avalanche. Ski resort operators say they are continuing an internal review of avalanche prevention protocols. Snow lovers all across the West are being warned tonight about the dangers they may face on the way to ski resorts this weekend, with roads covered in snow and ice. These are images of snow plowing that happened today in White Pass, Washington. The temperatures hovered around 1 degree there late this afternoon. Fox 13's Lauren Donovan reports tonight on how people in Washington are dealing with the extreme cold.
Good spot to put chains on.
Hot takes on a cold night. As temps plunged, irritation built over drivers woefully unprepared for what winter dealt.
There's a lot of the big backups you'll see coming up are due to road conditions and slow drivers and typically people in cars that are ill-equipped to be on snowy roads, and so you have spin outs and that sort of thing.
Thursday, frenzied drivers struggled to make it up Highway 2. You see a jackknife semi stall traffic, a Mercedes ditched in a snowbank. Much of the mass slowdown was driven by a stampede for the slopes. With traffic getting worse the closer you get to the mountains. Last year, complaints piled up faster than the snow could fall. So before the season started, I talked with the top dogs at both Crystal and Stevens.
Yeah, we've taken huge steps in the last season to manage our capacity.
Both told me they've gone to great lengths to prevent parkouts of winters past, limiting spaces at the lots and curbing ticket sales on powder days. So I asked Peter Dale, director of mountain operations at Crystal, why are we still seeing this?
There's a bunch of pent-up demand because we haven't had winter yet.
After a painfully dry December, prayers were finally answered.
Us skiers, we all thought this might not ever happen this winter, but hey, it just happened a little bit late.
But all that fresh POW draws some serious crowds. Waiting in line is one thing, waiting for 2.5 hours is another. Crystal requires reservations for weekends and holidays. Last weekend, the problem was a lot of people showed up without them. Enough that they had to turn folks away. It was a total park out.
It's pretty simple math. When there's nowhere left to park, there's nowhere left to park. You got to turn around and head back downhill.
Crystal is hoping to prevent the messiness of this past weekend by adding extra signage and warnings both on the mountain and online. That said, skiers and riders I spoke with aren't upset with the resorts. They point the finger at unprepared drivers, the ones who refuse to chain up until it's far too late. Reporting in the Cascades, Lauren Donovan, Fox 13 News.
And Washington's Puget Sound could see the coldest morning in decades tomorrow. Here is a live look tonight at Seattle, where a wind chill advisory already is in effect. And we continue our weather team coverage tonight by bringing in meteorologist Mark Tamayo from KTVU, who is tracking these falling temperatures. It really is remarkable how cold it is in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, not only out in the Pacific Northwest, Alex, of course, this is linked to the overall weather pattern here across the U.S. And look at these current temperatures out there. Parts of Montana currently 28 below zero right now, and that cold air is moving into the Pacific Northwest. We'll come in and take a closer look at some of the current conditions out there. Seattle right now is 17. Portland is 26, and Pendleton reporting just single digits. Look at when you factor in the wind chill, you can see the wind chill values and those numbers coming down quite a bit. So we have that extreme cold for tonight and into the weekend. As we check out here, we do also have a winter storm warning in place for all these areas in white. Cascades could pick up 12 to 24 inches as we come in closer. What's interesting, a place like Portland, tomorrow they have a winter storm warning. They could be picking up around 2 to 3, maybe 4 inches of snowfall with a mixture of snowfall and some sleet. Here's the overall weather pattern. The next system is coming on board here, moving into Oregon for tomorrow. So as we come in closer, the main activity will be in Oregon. As you can see, the rain showers and the snow showers developing. Right now, you can see the current conditions out there. You can see the projections into the weekend with Seattle tomorrow only 24 degrees. Today it was only 21. And then you can see Portland tomorrow only in the 20s for both Saturday and into Sunday. So here is the rain coming on board. This is Saturday afternoon. And of course, you can see the rain-snow mix and even some snow with that bitterly cold air. It sticks around into early Sunday morning, and then we will clear things out for the rest of the day on Sunday. But that cold air, that extreme chill will linger into your Sunday forecast. We'll have your complete update coming up in just a little bit, Alex.
All right, we'll see you in just a bit, Mark. Thank you. For a second straight day, storms kept some state offices in Nevada shut down. Here is a live look at conditions tonight in Reno, one of the areas where Governor Joe Lombardo encouraged people to stay home. He decided the conditions were just too dangerous to call anyone but essential employees to come into work. And you can stay on top of the storms impacting the West Coast over this weekend. Check out our website, westcoastwrap.com. We turn tonight to Los Angeles, where Police Chief Michael Moore announced late today he is retiring. Moore has led the LAPD since 2018. With the mayor at his side, Moore became emotional as he announced he is stepping down from the department that he's served for more than 40 years. Moore said he's leaving as the city has seen improvements in its crime rate.
Over this last year, our city has experienced a significant reduction in violent crime, building on the success we saw the year before, particularly in homicides and crimes involving houseless individuals.
His retirement will be effective at the end of February. LA Mayor Karen Bass said there will be a nationwide search that gets underway looking for Moore's replacement. A shooting shut down one stretch of Southern California's busiest freeways for several hours today. Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez talked with a bystander whose car was hit by that gunfire.
Looking for evidence on the northbound 405 freeway, shut for hours at the Burbank overpass after CHP responds to calls of a Chevy Volt crashing onto the median.
So bullet hole in the hood, bullet hole in the door. Both the windows, passenger and driver's side front windows are broken.
It turns out to be more than a crash.
Identified that there was a person that had suffered a gunshot wound. Our officers also noticed that there was gunshots to the vehicle.
The driver quickly transported, but the northbound freeway remained closed for over 6 hours.
Look at what time it is. Can you imagine how many people it affected? Jobs, everything, you know? I don't understand what's happening.
When you're in your car, are you more worried nowadays about freeway shootings and this kind of stuff than before?
I mean, yeah, I am a little more, but I never thought that I would be around here because, it's a good area, I would say.
That's your vehicle they shot at?
Yes.
Another driver showing us images of his vehicle shot at in Hollywood in a completely unrelated incident.
It's 3 people that shoots is my car. That same problem.
Today's gunfire comes on the heels of another car-to-car shooting Wednesday night, the 60 freeway at Paramount. 2 men injured after someone in a dark sedan pulls next to their Mercedes and fired several shots. Another one here, 3 in the afternoon, New Year's Eve. A black Toyota 4Runner is shot up after a road rage incident on the 5 freeway at Carmenita. No word on whether any of the incidents may be related. CHP saying,
if you do believe that you are in a road rage incident, then make sure that you are calling 911, exit the freeway, do not engage with people. When people start engaging, that's when it starts to get more violent.
I just take a deep breath personally. I mean, it's not worth, losing your life over getting shot at.
And that was Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez reporting for us tonight. Coming up on West Coast Wrap, building a high-speed rail line between Las Vegas and Southern California is going to take an army of workers. How many people need to be hired to complete this ambitious project? Plus, former President Trump will remain on the primary ballot in Oregon, at least for the time being, why the state's Supreme Court decided not to weigh in on the question of his eligibility. The Oregon Supreme Court has decided former President Trump can remain on the ballot in that state, at least for now. The court declined to hear a challenge that would have kept Trump off the presidential primary ballot, with the justices opting to wait for the U.S. Supreme Court to rule on his eligibility. This decision comes after both Colorado and Maine removed the former president from the ballot, citing the Constitution's insurrection clause and Trump's actions leading up to January 6th. Both of those decisions have been paused while the rulings are appealed. The Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in the Colorado case coming up next month. 11,000 new hires. That's just some of what's needed to make a high-speed rail line connecting Las Vegas and Southern California a reality. Fox 5's Jacqueline Schultz spoke to people in construction who believe this project is coming at the perfect time.
Lay all the groundwork, make sure we're good. We'll have the ironworkers put concrete. Every craft has their position. It's just much like football. Everybody has their position to play.
This is where the work will start. The plot of land off Warm Springs and Las Vegas Boulevard, set to be the future home of the Las Vegas Brightline station. The 218-mile project connecting the valley to Southern California needs an army of workers to get done in 4 years. The Department of Labor came to town this week to meet with Nevada and California trade unions. What's the plan to hire 11,000 people?
For Southern Nevada, we're looking at roughly 3,000. Projects finishing like the Sphere, Durango Station, Fontainebleau, F1 has came and gone. We've been waiting for something big to come, and this is it.
In December, President Biden announced $3 billion in federal funding for the project. Saavedra says money really made things move. Unions in Southern Nevada and California will start hiring. Saavedra says this summer, Nevada workers will start at the future station and make their way around 50 miles to the state line. They'll work in 8-hour shifts, more if necessary along the 15. The layout will mimic construction in the Tropicana project, but with a much more narrow footprint. In California, trade unions there say soon they will start work at multiple sites at once. Eventually, Nevada and California teams will meet and connect. The goal is to make it all a reality by summer 2028 when the Olympics come to LA. Commissioner Michael Naft, who's been pushing the project for years, says there's no more red tape for workers to begin.
Things like the entitlement process and land use issues for both the station and the rail line are taken care of. Rights of way issues have been resolved. There's so much groundwork that has gone into this project that now it truly is shovel ready to build what is the most exciting transportation project in the United States right now.
Jacqueline Schultz, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
Some student loan borrowers could see relief as early as next month. The Education Department says some borrowers enrolled in President Biden's new income-driven repayment plan could have their debts canceled next month. It was supposed to begin in July. The program is open to people who took out $12,000 or less in loans and have been repaying them for at least 10 years. Republicans in Congress tried unsuccessfully to block that new plan. Turning back now to the falling temperatures across the West, and the National Weather Service did this today. It's incredible to see. They took boiling water outside to demonstrate just how cold it is in northern Arizona. When a meteorologist tossed the water up into the air, you can see it condensed instantly in midair. This was in Belmont, where the temperatures dipped to 15 degrees below zero this morning. Let's get back now to KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo, who is tracking these extremely cold conditions. Mark?
Hi there, Alex. Yeah, amazing visuals there for the National Weather Service in Arizona. And for us, at least across the West Coast, we're still talking about some bitterly cold air moving in, especially as we talked about earlier up in the Pacific Northwest. But of course, this is all linked with the what we call long wave weather pattern across the U.S. and still some cold air moving in across other portions of the U.S. as well. Here's the satellite and the radar, where we do have another system offshore in the Pacific, and this will translate to some snow for Portland for tomorrow and some rain for Northern California. So here's a closer look at the radar. As you can see, the bulk of the shower activity has moved out of Washington. And you can see, like Seattle today, this was a picture showing you still some lingering clouds. Temperature of only 28 degrees this afternoon. So the cool down has really settled in San Francisco. Lots of clouds throughout the day, but no raindrops out there. And that 54 actually looks pretty mild compared to those temperatures up north. And then out toward Denver, as you can see, some clouds. Temperature today in the 30s, and they could actually have some snowfall possibly in the Saturday forecast. So here is the next system. It's lining up offshore here. Very cold once again, and some snow showers likely closer to Portland for tomorrow. In San Francisco, rainfall develops. And look at this, out toward Denver, down into the single digits for tomorrow with the chance of some snowfall. If you want the sunshine and the mild conditions, look at Southern California, also out toward Arizona. Temperatures will be in the 60s for Los Angeles and also out toward Phoenix. So here's the forecast model. It's clearly picking up on the weather pattern. The active weather is up here, up in Oregon, also Northern California. So the rain approaching Eureka, also approaching San Francisco throughout the day. Some off and on rain for the Bay Area. Notice the dry conditions, though, closer to Los Angeles and in San Diego. And here's kind of the breakdown over the next several days. We do have a sun cloud mix for Seattle tomorrow. Temperatures will be in the 20s. For San Francisco, there's that rain cloud for Saturday. By Sunday, we scale back on the cloud cover, and then we bring in more clouds early next week. It's dry and relatively mild compared to those really cold temperatures up north for Los Angeles and Phoenix. Temperatures will be in the 60s, and out toward Denver, the possibility of some snowfall for tomorrow, and temperatures very cold. Look at these numbers back down into the single digits. So, Alex, we're not talking about any sort of a warm forecast, at least in the short term. Looks like the cool pattern, it wants to stick around into the weekend.
Yeah, it does look like it, Mark. Yeah. Thank you. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, the FAA says it's boosting oversight of Boeing. Tonight we'll have the details on the formal investigation into that mid-flight blowout on one of its planes. Also, we'll show you why it's hard to miss one of NASA's newest exhibits in Southern California. The U.S. Navy is launching an investigation into why a military helicopter crashed into the San Diego Bay during routine training. This happened just before 7 o'clock last night near Coronado. All 6 crew members on that chopper were pulled to safety, and they're undergoing medical evaluations. Navy investigators are hoping to determine the cause of that crash as soon as possible. The FAA has opened a formal investigation into Boeing after last week's failure of a door plug that blew out during an Alaska Airlines flight. That caused an explosive decompression of the plane that forced an immediate emergency landing. KTVU's Tom Vakar has more tonight on the growing scrutiny into Boeing.
On Friday, the FAA announced it will increase oversight of Boeing, especially its problem-plagued MAX 9 program. Boeing CEO told its 156,000 employees, plus all the contractors, this.
I got kids, I got grandkids, and so do you. This stuff matters.
Even a week after the near disaster, with Boeing stock now down 14%, Wall Street is not buying the CEO's sincerity or the FAA's ability to do much about it.
It has been hostage to the industry literally almost from its inception.
Highly respected aviation attorney Mary Schiavo is a former U.S. Department of Transportation and FAA Inspector General.
I think it's important that the FAA investigates. I think what the FAA really meant to say is we're going to inspect and we're going to oversee and we're going to do safety enforcement.
Ms. Schiavo says the FAA is simply reacting to the National Transportation Safety Board's Thursday announcement that it was widely expanding its look into Boeing.
The FAA simply turned over their job to Boeing. They let Boeing self-certify, self-inspect, and basically tell the FAA when the plane was ready for certification.
To Schiavo, it's the same old song.
Back when I was Inspector General, the FAA was basically the cheerleader for airlines, the cheerleader for Boeing.
And, says former Inspector General Schiavo, the FAA has been dismissive of the many whistleblowers who have come forward to it.
I don't think the FAA is capable of soul searching. They're not capable of self-generated change. The only entity they will actually do something for is the hill from whence their money falleth.
I'd say that's an accurate description.
East Bay Congressman Mark DeSaulnier is on the House Subcommittee on Aviation.
So while I'm grateful that they're going to do this, it's not sufficient. I think Congress and I, for myself, being very involved in this, we're going to stay on top of this. The relationship needs to change.
It's the same kind of relationship that the California Public Utilities Commission had with PG&E until the gas explosion and the wildfires changed all that. Tom Bakar, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
NASA engineers are calling their test of a new parachute for Boeing's Starliner capsule a success. Images from this week's test in Yuma, Arizona were released today. NASA attached the parachute to a dart-shaped sled and dropped it from a plane. That sled was the same weight as the Starliner capsule. It made a soft landing. Starliner has completed 2 uncrewed flight tests. Its first crewed mission could happen as early as April. And finally tonight, we have a construction update on that one-of-a-kind exhibit in Los Angeles that features NASA's retired Endeavour space shuttle. Today, the massive external fuel tank was hoisted up into its final upright position. It now stands between 2 solid rocket boosters. That tank is around 27 feet in diameter, 154 feet long, and it weighs a whopping 65,000 pounds. Next up in the construction process, the Endeavour shuttle itself is going to be moved in the upcoming weeks into a vertical launch-ready position. Looking forward to that. Thank you so much for watching West Coast Wrap tonight. We'll see you back here next week. Have a great night.